Sup everyone, outside here and ready to jump right into first addressing my profile picture's Facebook picture. Now this is something that is so controversial because I usually don't like getting accessories. And so the reason I got this one is that the lighting of it makes it somewhat preferable when it's a small image. And so that is an effect in cameras where that's going to be of a usage in this other thing I'm trying to do. We're getting more out of life, go beyond what's usual. And so when there's fine scaling things, it's always thrown into a whole bunch of really complexion. And so there's two things of more beneficial. And someone says, like, what you mean that is art? And if it's not put in discretion, that you don't even get a say. And to a degree, I'm just explaining everything is when you're less cognitive. It's just as though I was saying in my other vlog, it's in the winter effect, everything's really quiet because there's snow dampening all these sound waves everywhere. And then the moment you turn a corner from having the tires and slush or water slapping on the concrete, it gets really quiet. And so it's the more that you know the big things and the small things, fitting them together to see an effect, it's Newtonian, equal and opposite for a reaction. And so it's even more so like I'm just explaining what augmentation of virtual reality is, and it's just kind of hard to say. It's as cheesy as my Facebook picture is, but it actually is kind of striking if it's a smaller image, because when images are smaller, they get polarized more by its surroundings, and that's why pictures have frames on it. Between a rock and a hard place, if you're doing motions between them, you're actually having like this charge up thing. Interesting. And that's like aside from free motion when you're not in between a rock and a hard place. It's a real thing. Borders, dynamics, and I'm just speaking them. So in things that are like physical, the physical properties were like, if you see, that is to say, someone walking and you know that they don't have a camera crew, and then they're walking into a frame as if they didn't just put the camera there. And so that's one aspect of physical. Another one, and anyone can touch upon, is where like if you're wearing two coats, someone would be like, oh my gosh, that's ridiculous. But you put on, make sure your second coat is thinner than the first one you put on. And then as you move, it just kind of allows like an extra one, and it actually does feel good. And so then it's kind of like the sameness when you're walking away from a building. It's the windbreaker is going to be like extravagant because there's going to be more wind further away from the windbreaker of a building. And especially if the building is tall, you feel a greater effect. And so especially if your thicker coat underneath the thinner coat is thicker and thinner, you're going to feel the greater effect. And so I guess one last one to frame. No, it's when they're leaving the frame and they're walking away from the camera, and you know that they're going to have to go back and pick up the camera. And the great equalizer of this, of course, is like you're not really supposed to have a camera inside of a store, but it's like where your camera in the store is a private place, and then every place is a private place if it's under martial law. It would be an interesting shot where if you put your camera up and it is within a group of people and you're one person in, the group and then you start talking, of course with a microphone because your voice would never hit the speaker of the camera because there's no boomstick men involved if you're a one-man crew. And so that is like one way that I think would be appropriate, even though you're still having to walk back to the camera after you placed it there, but you're making it a little. I first noticed this when it was like this guy on TV in the wilderness, and he's like, "I'm a one-man crew," and he told that like he had, after each shot walking away from the camera, he has to backtrack with his backpack all the way to pick it back up again. So that is one thing, but to decal